In the late 1960s, a cult leader by the name of Charles Manson captivated the world with his heinous crimes and twisted ideology. He became a symbol of evil and terror, leading his followers on a killing spree that left 7 people dead. But who was Charles Manson, and how did he gain such a dangerous hold over his followers? Join us as we explore the story of one of the most infamous criminals in American history, and the cult that still haunts us to this day. But before we get started, please make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified about our amazing upcoming informative videos. Now sit back, relax, and let's go. Charles Manson was an American criminal who spearheaded a murderous campaign with his followers, the Manson family cult, that would make him one of the most infamous figures in criminal history. Manson was born Charles Millis Maddox on November 12, 1934, in Cincinnati, Ohio, to Kathleen Maddox, a 16-year-old girl who was both an alcoholic and a prostitute. Kathleen later married William Manson, but the marriage ended quickly and Charles was placed in a boys' school at age 12. Rejected in his attempts to return to his mother, Charles was soon living on the streets and getting by through petty crime. Over the next 20 years, Manson spent time in and out of reform schools and prisons for various crimes. He was released from prison on March 21, 1967, and moved to San Francisco. The Manson family cult. The family was a group of around 100 followers of Manson who shared his passion for an unconventional lifestyle and habitual use of hallucinogenic drugs, such as LSD and magic mushrooms. The Manson family eventually moved from San Francisco to a deserted ranch in the San Fernando Valley. Manson's followers also included a small, hardcore unit of impressionable young girls. They began to believe, without question, Manson's claims that he was Jesus and his prophecies of a race war. Charles Manson and Helter Skelter. Manson was influenced not only by drugs, such as LSD, but by artworks and music of the time, most notably the Beatles' song Helter Skelter, from their 1968 White Album. Helter Skelter, the true story of the Manson murders, was later the title of a best-selling book about Manson and his crimes written by Vincent Bugliosi. Paul McCartney has said that the playground slide in Helter Skelter was a metaphor for the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. Manson, however, interpreted the lyrics of Helter Skelter as incitation to begin a race war. He turned to the album and lyrics to justify his scheme and guide his followers to murder. Manson had a strong belief and interest in the notion of Armageddon from the Book of Revelations, and also explored the teachings of Scientology and more obscure cult churches, such as the Church of the Final Judgment. In many ways, Manson reflected personality traits and obsessions that were associated with gurus of cult quasi-religious groups that began to emerge in the 1960s. He was pathologically deluded into believing that he was the harbinger of doom regarding the planet's future. Murders and victims. The Manson family, including Manson and his young, loyal disciples, is thought to have carried out some 35 killings. Most of their cases were never tried, in part for lack of evidence. The perpetrators had also already been sentenced to life for the killings on August 9, 1969, Tate, writer Wojciech Frykowski, his partner, Coffee Bean heiress Abigail Folger, and celebrity hairstylist Jay Sebring, and 2 more victims on August 10, 1969, wealthy supermarket executive Leno LaBianca and his wife, Rosemary. In August 1969, Manson gathered a group of his most loyal family followers to carry out his massacre among Hollywood's elite and beautiful people. The first of Manson's victims was murdered at the home Polanski had rented, located at 10050 Cielo Drive in Benedict Canyon, an area just north of Beverly Hills. Polanski was away in London shooting a film, and the 4 victims had just returned home from dinner at the time of the murder. While Manson himself took no part in the actual killings, he directed 4 of his most obedient followers, Charles Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Linda Kasabian, to the address and directed them to kill everyone. According to one of the family members' statements, the Polanski household had been targeted because it represented the showbiz world that had rejected Manson. Stephen Parent had been visiting his friend Garrettson when he became the Manson family's first victim. As he drove away from the house in the dark early morning hours, he was spotted by the intruders and shot dead. Kasabian was horrified by the shooting of the boy, and she remained outside to keep watch. Kasabian acted as the getaway driver and was to become the star witness during the trial. When the other three broke into the house, they herded Tate, Frykowski, Folgers and Sebring into the living room and tied them up. Sebring was shot and brutally kicked as he tried to defend Tate. During the terrifying murder spree, both Frykowski and Folger managed to escape from the house but were chased and stabbed to death. At the trial, Kasabian described how she saw Frykowski staggering out of the house covered in blood and was horrified at the sight. She told him she was sorry, but despite her pleas to his attacker to stop, the victim was bludgeoned repeatedly. Folger escaped from the house with terrible injuries but was caught on the front lawn and stabbed 28 times. 8 months pregnant Tate pleaded for the life of her unborn child. She was mercilessly stabbed in the stomach by Atkins. Kasabian told of Atkins's chilling words to Tate before she stabbed her, "Look, bitch, I have no mercy for you. You're going to die, and you'd better get used to it." Atkins then used Tate's blood to write the word pig on the front door. However, instead of this brutal massacre sating the pathological Manson, he criticized the murderers for being sloppy. The following night, Manson took family members Watson, Krenwinkel and Leslie Van Houten to the Los Feliz address of the LaBiancas, and the couple was murdered in a similarly horrifying fashion. Death. Manson had been serving time in Corcoran State Prison in California since 1971. In 2012, he was denied parole for the 12th time. Days earlier, Manson had been admitted to a hospital in Bakersfield, California. However, no details about his medical condition or his location were disclosed, due to privacy and security reasons. The longtime prisoner had also been hospitalized earlier in the year. Manson died on November 19, 2017, of natural causes. He had been in prison for more than 40 years for his crimes. Charles Manson's life and crimes continue to captivate and horrify people to this day. While his actions were reprehensible and his cult was a dark chapter in American history, his story serves as a reminder of the power that one person can hold over others and the devastating consequences that can result. As we close this video, we remember the victims of Manson and his followers and reflect on the lessons that can be learned from this tragedy. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay curious and stay tuned.